Good evening and welcome to the program. This is Business and Enterprise and I'm your host, Chisenga Mumba. Today we talk about opportunities for success for people who are working outside of Zambia, and I'm talking about Zambian people that are succeeding elsewhere. We're talking now about prospects for success within and outside the country, and I like that we have a young person to talk some more about this. I'm privileged to be joined by Mawano Kambeu, who is Manager Investment Sales and Marketing for Prudential Financial, as well as, well, the.com Zambia. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Not a lot of young people will get the opportunity to go over to the US or to the UK. I know that it's a dream for some people, but for others, it may not necessarily be attainable. Talk about the prospects for employment, prospects for entrepreneurship within the country, as somebody who's practiced business within Zambia before you took off.
Yeah, I mean, either way, no matter what country you're in, whether it's the US, whether it's in Zambia, it is a bit of a struggle. And I don't want to, to be here and preach and say, hey, everything can be done. I had to work very, very hard to get to where I am. Even with .com Zambia, it took 6 years in the making, 3 years of banging down doors, working till 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think the important things that I learned was, one, I think you have to be very determined, you have to be very strategic, and you just have to really to train yourself as well. There were a lot of errors that I made along the way. There are a lot of failed businesses that I tried, and part of why I went into business, I think it's really the challenge of many youths. I graduated from school in Kitwe. I didn't really know what to do with myself. And I knew I was very creative. I had all of these ideas and I tried to start many of those ideas, but you talk to any entrepreneur, they'll tell you about times where they had failed, and I am no different. But after a while, and I think with the help of many people who taught me many skills, I got better and better. So the prospects are definitely there. A lot of opportunities, and that's why I'm really involved in entrepreneurship in Zambia and trying to build my own business.
We look to the government a whole lot as a facilitator, and obviously we have certain expectations of them in order to ensure that we succeed as young people or even anybody involved in entrepreneurship and in business. But could you talk maybe about the role of the private sector in business?
I think it comes to understanding what the private sector is looking for. So I work in the investment side in the US. We look at investments, and what are we ultimately there to do? Make money. So I think part of the private sector's obligation is to really create an open door, or at least say to the entrepreneurship community or to aspiring business people, this is what we're looking for, and being able to communicate that, and in some cases assist in trying to get entrepreneurs to the level. Because at the end of the day, if an entrepreneur has an idea, the private sector will jump on that. If it's a good idea, the private sector will jump on that purely for the purposes of making money. Now, there are a lot of benefits to that whole process. What happens when an entrepreneur comes up with a good idea and the private sector comes in? It creates jobs, it creates services. There are ancillary businesses, so it's really a cycle. And I think we have to come up with a way for all of those sectors to actually come together and work unanimously. But I think it's part of us, I think, as entrepreneurs, understanding what the private sector does and how we can actually tap into that market. But it's not about going in and asking for a handout. I think to your earlier comment, go in with value. Show them what you can do. Whether you're explaining that my process can improve your profits, maybe I can, you have this process, it costs you this much, I can come in, do it just as well, but I can bring your costs down to here. And you have to be able to go in and actually explain that value and then go out and create it. So we really need that sort of environment happening right now.
So what are the tools of the trade that actually guarantee success? Besides the mindset, let's talk about practical tools of the trade that we want to learn from you.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, when I started my business.com Zambia, it was me alone. And believe me, I would actually go to work. I would leave work at 17 hours. I'd go to school until 22 hours. I would then work until 3 in the morning, sleep again for a couple of hours and start again. And for years, I did that, year in and year out, knocking one door at a time, getting one customer at a time. And what I'd found is with an entrepreneur, there's what you call suffering in silence. And the reason I call it suffering in silence is because you have to be the jack of all trades. I was the accountant, the sales and marketing department. I was the shipping manager. I was the office cleaner, everything. everything all in one. And so you do struggle with that. And there's no one who's good at everything. And there were certain areas that I was very weak at. For example, I'm not much of an operations guy. But you know what? I had to go to people who were good at operations, and they would actually mentor me. And I think we need more of that. We need people who are leaders in the community to actually take young people and mentor them and show them the ropes that this is what you need to do to improve. Because even now, yes, I'm better at certain things, but there's still room for improvement. And I still have mentors who continue to advise me. So right now, our company is in the process of trying to raise some money in the private market. I don't really know the in and outs of that, but I do have fortunate mentors here in Zambia that are sitting down with me, and they're telling me that, young man, these are the the steps you need to take. These are the things you need to, and I'm getting better at that. And that has been a characteristic of of my of some of the struggles I had to deal with. Now, when I started to get employees, the first person that I hired was actually someone who could do the operations, something that I was weak at but could do adequately. So you definitely do have to be a jacker, and you have to be coachable. And those are some of the skills, and you have to be determined. Like in my case, working all the time, weekend, I was never at a nightclub. I was either sleeping or working. And part of it was I started off very, very poor. Even with, in the US and even here, and I had to build it one step at a time. And I had to know that I had to keep going. I had to keep pushing and not lose my focus and not lose my discipline. So you definitely need that. And when you incur setback, which we all do, everybody does, you have to learn how to pick yourself up, mute the negative, concept, because people would come to me, how can a tech company work in Zambia? How can you do internet things on Zambia? Who would do, So I had to really put those aside, focus on what I was trying to do, get good feedback, have good mentors, and that's how I got to where I am today.
The work attitude in Zambia, let's face it, is a bit different from the way it is in other countries. Here, ordinarily, a lot of people tend to expect the government to do everything for them, whereas in countries like the UK or Nigeria or in the US, work attitude is a bit different. You're going to have to get out there and actually make a mark for yourself. So with those conditions, how does a person like you, break into that market and actually succeed?
Well, I think, there's a saying that if I don't do it, then who will? So yes, I've picked up certain philosophies because of the fact that I'm in the US, and part of those philosophies I'm trying to transfer to the staff that I have here in Zambia. So I come in, I'm very casual. I don't like rank in my organization. So I'll come in with shorts and t-shirts, and I want them to challenge me on ideas, not just say, oh, because the boss said this, we have to run with it. So I think it starts with, with the individual. We have to do it one step at a time, because I think I agree with you. There are, in being a hire, I get a lot of people coming to me and saying, I want a job. And I turn around and I ask them, okay, well, what job do you want? Oh, well, just any job. Well, how can I give you a job if you can't explain what you can do for my organization and how I can reward you for the work that you want to do? It doesn't work like that. So, and eventually, I found great employees who respond to that, who actually tell me exactly that if I join you, this is what I will do for you. This is what I want to bring to the table. And as a, as a hirer, I then ask them, what would you like from this organization? Is it, do you want to make more money? Because I want to make sure that I give you an environment where your dreams, where everything you want to achieve will actually come to fruition. And I think those are sort of cultural changes that I've picked up, and I'm saying, well, how can I apply that? Because I've seen that a happy organization is a better organization. But it does step, and it's happening across the country. Maybe we're not hearing about it as much, but I think we will eventually get there. I think we just need to, to move away from that type of business day-to-day activity. But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
What about receptivity towards online shopping? A lot of Zambians doing that. Have you seen?
It was very difficult. Believe me, we had challenges. Even this notion of, well, where are they located? And people don't even know. Well, what if we pay money? Are we actually going to see them? Oh, we hear about internet scams. But as part of an entrepreneur, I had to recognize that that was a challenge. So I had to say, well, what am I going to do differently to, to appease those clients who have that skepticism? So one of the things that we did is we built, we opened up a pick and pay location. So that's where the items come once they're processed. They come to a pick and pay location here in Lusaka. So you can meet our staff. You can meet me. So that way it's not just some imaginary people behind the scenes. But that's basically looking looking at the Zambian market and saying that if I want to build an internet company, this is how I need to do it. You know, when it comes to payment solutions, they don't have credit cards, so we had to come up with different ways that our clients could actually pay us. And then, you know, in terms of trusting us as well, we had to say, okay, well, give us a deposit to just start the transaction, a small one. We would do our part. We would deliver. When we say we're going to deliver, we're going to charge you the price that we've committed to, and you know, we'll do our part. And when we do, you come do your part as well. And that is how we went from 1 client to 2 client to 3 client to quite a few clients today. And you know, but we still have work to do, so we'll continue working at it.
Fantastic. Mawano, I want to say best of luck to you, and thank you for obliging us this interview.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Okay. So as you heard from Mawano, he was very, very practical in providing tips and also giving us his perspective with regard to prospects for success, not just within Zambia, but also outside the country. Again next week at the same time. We look forward to hearing from you via email. Bye-bye.